a podcast created by two guys brought together by movement, transformed into brotherhood. The boys share their authenticity as they deep dive into what it means to explore this human experience. Shedding light on personal trials and accumulated wisdom, Conscious Collingwood is meant to provoke thought and insight to expand your personal awareness. Come along for the journey as Justin and Jeff exemplify what it means to be a man living wholeheartedly, balancing the divine, masculine, and feminine. Welcome to Conscious Collingwood.
What's been, you know what question Ari brought up to me the other day? Maybe it's too deep for the podcast.
Can I cut you off for just 1 second?
Yeah.
Then we'll go, because I
Okay.
don't know where I'd throw this in there. She fucking messages me 9:26 the other Sunday night.
Yeah.
She's
Sounds
like,
like
why is Tom Cruise your archetype? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, are you serious? At 9:26 on a Sunday? Why are you at? And she's like,
yeah.
just on my mind, I thought I'd send it. I'm like, oh, okay. So I replied back, and
Yeah.
it was funny, but just the way her brain works is.
Yeah. It is. I know. She messaged me last night. So every week on Sunday we give each other our words for the week, and then a list of things that we want to achieve. And so my words this week were, I actually like it. It keeps you accountable, but
Words plural, like more than.
yeah. So my words were strength, determination, embodied, release, and expand. But it was a great practice. And then I had 5 things that I want to achieve this week. And she's pretty adamant that it's not like take out the garbage on Wednesday on time, you know? It's got to be expansive, you know? Really push yourself. And it's been like super helpful.
Where do I go with that? How do you keep expanding so like, is it?
You're always growing. The business is growing. New ideas come in each week. Like,
I guess my point was, are you trying to raise the bar on yourself each week, or is it just make sure you're accountable to doing something grand as opposed to taking out the garbage on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's just a way to keep yourself accountable. And also be in a supportive relationship where, you know, you have somebody that's not like, I think, you know, I'm not in a relationship, but you are. You know, I'm sure that just like telling Terry, like having her as the support is great and all, but it's nice having someone that's outside of that relationship to grow with.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just thinking though about, you know, marriage and everything. If we were to implement this, it's an excuse to communicate. Not that we don't communicate, but it provides some structure for the family, if you will, or the couple, to start the week off strong. So you're both on the same page, and you're both sharing, and you know, so whether something's coming up or there's some stress or something going to come up, like at least you're on the same page, and your words might change depending on the energy and the vibe of the week, right? So
yeah, and if you grow together, you're growing together, or if you're not growing together, you're probably growing apart. So finding ways to really communicate and connect is essential.
Do you guys reflect before you set the new or find the new words for the week?
We reflect near the end of the week usually.
Yeah.
And then, but the day we set is usually we've already discussed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. That sounds like a fun practice.
Yeah. But why I brought that up was she messaged me at like 9:30 last night, like, hey dude, it's Tuesday. Come on. So,
Shit.
yeah. It's, you know, we're so human, we're busy.
Yeah.
And it's not like, obviously it'd be perfect if it was every Sunday, but we let it go a little bit longer than usual.
Do you find your days are flying by? Like I find mine, because I've just got so much to do. Try and take care of my physical body first and foremost. Then there's family dynamics, running around kids and sort of stuff, then business and whatever else. And it's like, you know, I'm trying to do copyright for a new website, and then there's a speech I got to write for an event in the fall, and it's just like there's just so much. It's like before you know it, it's fucking bedtime. You're like, where'd that day go?
Yeah.
So like, for me, procrastination has been something I've been working on, and I'm getting better at it. It's something that's creeped into my life in the last few weeks, but I feel like I'm someone who needs a little bit of pressure to perform and execute. If I had a whole year to do something, I needed some timelines and stuff.
Yeah.
For me personally.
Yeah, I also need pressure. Time. When you start living your passion and doing the things that you love each day, time starts flying by because you're just so in it. Parts of me want to be like, if you can really tune into to the moment, maybe it'll slow down. But I feel like I'm pretty in a place where my life is in meditation. Like I'm constantly present and self-regulating myself. And that's truly what meditation is like connecting with yourself, being able to self-regulate regardless of the situation that you're in, to find presence. Because if you're not fully present, you're usually disconnected in some capacity. So yeah, life flies by, and it's hard to, and that's why it's a very dangerous trap to want it to slow down or to try to control it. It's very common that I've noticed it's very common for people to be like, the summer's flying by, and they're really taking themselves out of center because of time, which is inevitable.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And I think it's a cultural thing where we kind of like, oh, the weather, oh, time's flying by, like the summer's just flying by. And it's like, you're setting yourself up to have guilt, or that you didn't fully live. Where it's like, okay, well, what if you felt peace at where you were and how much you've participated and done and achieved in the summer, and recognize that there's more time.
Yeah.
The season's going to change, but that's fine. You still have more time.
I would say the good thing is, though, like some days feel a little bit slower than others, but for the most part, the time disappears. But it's good time, though. It's like my days feel whole. It's not like they're a complete waste. When I talk about procrastination, like I'm nitpicking myself. It's not like I'm doing nothing, but it's like I'm trying to maximize every minute, and sometimes I don't feel like I do, and I'm, spank myself a little bit for that. But it's like I'm never going to get it done because there's always ways to expand. There's always ways to become better. There's always ways to be more creative. So it's like you're never going to really fulfill all your potential. There's not enough lifetime on this earth, at least.
I think the greatest practice is, can you be okay with everything you're doing right now? And be at peace that, like really reflect on the emotional turmoil that you create within yourself by these like expectations that you have.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, and I mean, I've previously talked about this, and I'm sure it'll come up again, but on another chat, but like the rise and grind mentality, I've definitely been guilty of that. And I'm sure maybe in the construction life you were in, it was similar, but it's just that there's that workaholic mentality. Like there was a lot of pride I took in being a workaholic. Well, it fucking didn't get me anywhere. It made me sick, made me injured. Like it wasn't healthy. It served its purpose. It got me to a certain point, but then that story had to die because it was no longer healthy. It was no longer serving me. I don't have any shame around stuff like that, but I just recognized that there was a lot of perfectionism and a lot of external validation I was looking for with that label of being a workaholic and whatever else, and then just, this isn't healthy anymore, you know? So for me now, everything I do is driven by my heart and my passion and whatever's lighting me up. It's inspired action. It's not effort where I'm just doing it to make money or whatever. It's like, if it doesn't light me up, if it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no sort of thing. And that feels good. It just feels balanced, and it's an easy way to sort through the BS.
Yeah.
It's like, is this serving me and others or not? And that's just an easy way to navigate any decision making, you know?
Yeah. I want to touch on procrastination. I think procrastination, I've noticed it slip in because it was easy for me to be physical. So, okay, there's a stack of drywall. Here's the wall. Here's the ceiling. Give her.
Yeah.
You got 8 hours. Phenomenal. I enjoyed being physical. I liked working hard. I was able to look back and be like, this is great. But when I started having to live a more cerebral life, or take in information and then somehow maintain it in my brain, and or also share information, it wasn't like I wasn't able to look back and be like, it was that I was able to, or I struggled to see what I did, because I used to be able to see what I did. And now that I don't see what I did, and I'm not being as physical as I was, it's now trying to find compassion for myself, because I feel like I'm not doing as much as I used to, or what my baseline was.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because similar, like if I'm not building a golf project, or I wasn't, whatever the example in construction would be for me, that physical result you get, I know exactly what you mean. When you're in the background, networking with people, supporting people, whether you're doing some writing or whatever it might be, it's hard not to feel a result because you don't see the physical result, and so it doesn't feel like you're accomplishing anything. But for me, I've had to give myself some grace and compassion going, I feel like I am being pulled in a slingshot right now, and all the work I'm doing in the background, even though it's not physical and there's no, it's like that delayed gratification thing. Like I'm just putting so much work in the background that sooner or later it's going to manifest and come to fruition, and it'd be like, oh, that's what all that was for. But some days it feels like, yeah, what the fuck am I doing? Like
one of my coaches said, everything you do now is going to benefit you 3 months from now. You just have to think of that always.
Yeah.
That it's delayed gratification. Get used to it. You know, right now, 3 months.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know about you, but like I do try and plan my days to some degree, but sometimes a phone call comes in that's more important, if you will, than whatever was on my to-do list, or get pulled away for a kid or something, whatever it might be. And I've had to really let go of I wouldn't say time management, but like trying to structure my days, because whatever's meant for me is going to best serve me in that day, and I just surrender to it. I'm not saying I'm just completely complacent about any responsibilities and stuff, but for me it's like I'm just trying to go where the wind takes me and not stress about the to-do lists and not getting it all done, because at the end of the day I can just beat myself up over it. And I just like yesterday I was meant to have a call with one person for an hour and it turned into 2, and I missed another call. I was supposed to be on a Zoom call or whatever, but that chatting with that individual felt way more important and beneficial than making the other thing. And thankfully I can catch a replay, but I wasn't able to participate in it. So it's just, it might be a silly example, but it's just me just trying to find some grace with day-to-day life, and it just, you can't control anything. So just hands
Let
off
it
the
go.
wheel. Jesus, take the wheel.
How the most important thing we can do is maintain our center, and know that we're constantly in flux and being pulled, and there's so many different strings that are going to pull you away from your center. And it's like, okay, well, how can you manage yourself? Manage your expectations. Expectations usually lead to like resentment, anger, well, a slew of emotions where it's, you know, because the human physiology, we're working with old technology, right? Predictability, safety, security, that's what we want. So when we hold expectations, we're holding, in a physiological standpoint, we're expecting safety and security. And when those don't happen, we have a physiological stress response. And then the emotions of like anger can arise, or just you're not controlling the situation. So that can bring up a lot depending on your primal and especially how your parents acted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really. So it's a lot to manage, and it's, you know, when you can be at peace with like, this is time, this is the way of the world.
Yeah.
I can only control how I show up to every situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all it is. Yeah.
I love that line too. You know, having control is knowing that you have no control.
Yeah.
Like, I am trying to live in a place of complete surrender, and when I really embody that, there's so much ease there. Mm-hmm. But it's taken me a long time to get there. And again, I don't say that like there's any sense of complacency. There's not. There's actually a lot of gratitude and appreciation that something greater than me is taking care of me. Mm-hmm. Get out of the way. You know, that's a whole podcast in itself. Learning how to get out of your own way. But yeah, get out of my own way, Jeff, and just let whatever's supposed to happen this day happen.
Would you say it's, now we touched on the heart as the compass, right? I always share that, you know, in utero, the heart is formed first, and then the body's formed around the heart, and the head's formed last, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. So, in my experience, school, society kind of takes us away from listening to our heart. We're now moving into a very analytical, very cerebral society where it's less about feeling in the body and more about production, you know, get these right answers, all that kind of thing. Don't really follow that intuition where I had a very strong intuition as a child, but because of my allergies, my asthma, I always like questioned it, like, man, like, can I really trust myself? Because mm-hmm. I couldn't trust my physiology. If I didn't have my puffer, which was a man-made synthetic medication, I would die. And it was like, wow, what a mind fuck. And so it took me a really long time to trust myself and the intuition that was inherent within me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember you sharing about you starting to run, and maybe we'll save that story, but like, yeah, or share it. But like that, you know, the first time you ran with your puffer and just the leap of faith that is in itself.
Yeah.
You know?
So even after that year, for probably 2, maybe even 3 years, I would carry my puffer around with me, even though I didn't need it. I knew I didn't need it. And I had the like, just natural muscle memory, but I would always like make sure it's there. I'd just be patting my, okay, puffer's there, like, okay, we're good. Okay, like safe, which is wild. And I remember like I used to run with my puffer, I used to exercise with my puffer, and then I would leave my puffer behind. And I would just be like, but when I first started training my breathing, I would take myself to, and I was breathing through my nose, not my mouth, which is also very anxiety, low drive anxiety. So I would run to the point of peak anxiety, fear, start walking, slow my breathing down, remind myself who's in control, and then I'd run again. Get myself right to the edge of what I could handle, and then self-soothe, breathe, come back to my center, and then take myself there until it got to a point where I couldn't find the edge. And I was able to just breathe through my nose, and I think there's parts of me that still chase that edge, you know, running up the mountain. And I find a physical edge, like my capacity, but there's no fear anymore. There's no stress from breathing. Like I'm like, it can be physically extremely challenging, like just running as hard as I can up the mountain. And I know that like I can rely on my breath. Mm-hmm. It's just the muscles have a limitation, and that's natural. That's very natural.
Yeah. Well, that limitation's there to protect you, obviously, right?
Yes.
I know in class at the end of your surge class, you do, today's surge class, what do you call it again? Where you're squatting with exhale?
Hypoxic training, where we reduce oxygen in the body. We use up all the oxygen by holding the bottom of an exhale and then squatting up and down. But it could be any movement. And that's actually comes from what is called the Buteyko method. And that's how I healed my asthma, actually.
I bring it up because I can do about 6 squats. I think I tried to get to 7 today, but it's tough. And if that's what asthma feels like, fuck me. Like, talk about anxiety. Like, I've went down and I got to get back up, and it's like, can I even stand back up? And then I'm gasping for air, and it's like, God bless those that deal with it, because I'm like, that's a tough life.
Yeah. Well, one, you shouldn't be gasping for air.
Well,
I try to tell people, don't gasp. Take yourself to a safe point where you can breathe in naturally without gasping. Jeff is connected to his body and has been training for a while, so this is just a disclaimer that he feels confident and safe in his body to explore a little bit more intensity than most people, and I trust Jeff to do that. So, disclaimer. But
I want to fake a pass out one day just to fuck. Yeah.
It's I wanted to introduce something that healed me, and what it does is we have a CO2 tolerance, so it's the natural trigger. We don't have to think about breathing because we take oxygen in, and then when oxygen's utilized and hits the CO2, because oxygen is up when you breathe and CO2 is down, and then CO2 rises as oxygen's used. So once you hit the trigger, then you breathe again, and then boom. So we increase oxygen, but then we force ourselves to go past the limit, the trigger, and it eventually raises over time, and under safe supervision. But what happens with asthma is you become an overbreather, so the trigger's really low. So you just inhale, and then you're just, and really CO2 puts you in a more parasympathetic state. So when we can, and what this is doing is helping your body utilize oxygen better. So regardless, even if you overbreathe, become a melt, and I actually had asthma and severe sleep apnea, so I was not breathing at night. And so if you are an overbreather, your body's always taking in the right amount of oxygen through your alveoli, but the body is now just breathing more, which is a stress state. So in fight or flight, if you're, having to run from a bear, you start breathing quickly because the muscles need oxygen. You're going to take in as much as you can possibly take, but and it's for heightened awareness. So all the blood goes from your organs out to your limbs for fighting or fleeing, and then it'll come back once you're relaxed. But if you can't relax and you don't have that ability to self-manage yourself, then you're in a constant state of fight or flight. And that's oftentimes when disease happens, because the organs, which are technically more important than your limbs, like if you go into cold water, the blood goes to your organs so you don't die. The limbs can go.
Yeah.
So it's a dance. And the only way to real health is connection with yourself.
Yeah. Did you cure yourself, if you will, prior to learning from Paul? Or was it in conjunction with that, or were you?
It was, so, yeah, I actually would.
I'm just trying to think if was that on your resume and your application? It's like, I healed my own asthma.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was on my application, and I was getting really close. Like I don't think I was fully off.
Yeah.
But I was getting there. I was really close.
That's crazy. Cool.
Yeah, it was insane.
I was thinking about when you said you lost your intuition. Like when you're younger, you might have had it there, and then you lost due to, giving your
bred
control
out of me.
Yeah. I think about that, and I think I've always actually been pretty good at trusting my instincts. I never really, I think using the word now and understanding what intuition is more powerful than understanding what an instinct is. But I knew that hockey, wasn't for me anymore, so I pivoted, if you will. Then I knew golf wasn't there, so I trusted my instincts and went somewhere else. And so I think I've always been pretty good, but where I've gotten sharper with it is just recognizing where I've gone against my instincts, if you will. And I've had, whether it's, trying to start a new business and investing 50 grand into something and not working out, even though in the beginning I knew right away. The first minute I saw the product that I was trying to sell was like, this isn't going to work. But the guy who invented it was a gazillionaire. Actually, well, my mentor, and we can talk about that stuff later on. But like, I fell in love with the potential as opposed to trusting my instincts and going, this isn't for me. Like, this isn't, no, it's cool, but no. But no, I went ahead with it, and I learned a lot along the way, and thankfully it was only that much. But like, there was a lot of time, money invested in this idea, and I knew right from the beginning, right? So, and there's other examples like that through business that I've learned, but for sure in the last year or two, just gotten very aware of my intuition and being able to trust it and lead from the heart. So it makes life a lot easier. Do you not find? Like, it's just, decisions are a lot easier to make. It just simplifies life.
Mm-hmm. The heart is the compass. We Paul teaches really fosters intuition. That's really all it is. It's muscle testing for to give physiological feedback that you can trust, and feeling is believing. So knowing that every cell in your body moves towards pleasure and away from pain, and then I always felt like I had a strong intuition. It's just I had trust issues.
Yeah.
So, when the first time I met Ariana, she just walks up to me, is like, "Do you want to be on my, do you want to join my YTT?" And it was like the biggest yes of my in my heart, and I was like, "Yeah." And now look at us, best friends.
Yeah.
Created a yoga studio together. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you can really tune into intuition in your heart, it'll lead you to, the life that you're meant to lead or to live.
And I want to check this camera because it just spooks the shit out of me. We're still good. When I say it makes life easy, it does in one capacity, but there's still external judgment you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have to establish boundaries. You're going to maybe lose people that are around you that no longer align with you, and that could be blood related, or it could just be your circle or friends. I wouldn't say, does it make you? You need to be very vulnerable, or you become very vulnerable if you're following your heart, but it is the most powerful place to live and the most authentic. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of practice, and you got to strengthen that muscle for you to trust yourself and trust the powers that, okay, this is meant for me, even though it's so uncomfortable that I'm going to have this tough conversation, or I have to break up with that person, or I'm going to have to whatever it might be. So there's a paradox there. I think it makes life easier, but it doesn't make it comfortable.
Life is never going to be easy.
No.
Stress is inevitable. The most resistance you'll ever face are from the people that think they know you. Mm-hmm. So the family, friends, if you were raised, pretty much like I spent thousands and thousands of hours with my friends, growing up. And they think they know you. Mm-hmm. You think you know yourself until, you start diving into maybe like a self-development or get coaching, and then you're like, whoa, I was trying to fit in to a job, a community, whatever, because you were young, and it's just what, you know, and there's lessons there. And you were meant to. But your yes has no value until you learn to say no, so it's really, you know, tapping in, like, okay, well, what's now that I know how to listen to my heart, what's really true? What do I actually need? I was always wondering why I felt exhausted after going to Bob's house. You know?
Yeah.
Even though I love Bob, like, we hung out forever.
Yeah.
He's like one of my oldest friends. So that it is challenging. But it's challenging because placing value on your choice and what's actually best for you, it isn't supposed to be easy. It's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
You're showing yourself self-worth.
Well, and there's obviously your ego's involved and all that sort of stuff, and its mechanism to try and keep you safe and small and protected, all that sort of stuff. It is funny, like, thankfully Terry and I, you know, I think one of the strengths of our marriage is our ability to communicate, and it hasn't always been easy, but we have such a mutual respect for each other. We've gotten to a place where we can have tough conversations, and they're just respectful, and they're open, and we share them with respect. But, you know, I think I started Everlove, I believe it was November of last year, so my Everlove anniversary will be, 1 year anniversary will be, I think, November. Wow. But point being is that I've changed a lot through, you know, I worked with my coach back in whatever it was, 2015, 17 or so, in that area, and things have changed quite a bit. But then I really feel this last year, like, I've really morphed, like, things have really changed. And I remember Dan, Ariana's husband, you know what he is, constantly selling. He's a realtor by trade.
Oh, fuck, dude, he can sell anything.
So I already know the guy, and he approaches me in the hallway the one day and invites me into a men's circle. So we do that, get into a men's circle, which has been great. Been into a few sessions now. And then shortly after that, he's like, hey, do you want to go to an ecstatic dance this Friday night, or whatever it was? And I'm like, explain what it is. So he does a little bit. And, oh yeah, I'll be there, and whoever else, blah, blah, blah. Well, show up, I'm one of two males there. Yeah. Well, actually, one guy showed up late who was a bit of a different duck, but anyway, it was an interesting experience. And actually, that's a conversation for another time. I think it's a fun story. Why I was bringing that up, though, is I literally had an honest conversation with Terry. Because I felt like I was growing almost away from her too fast. I was like, I'm afraid I might come home one night and you're gonna be like, who the fuck are you? Like, what happened? This isn't what I wanted, you know? And I was like, because who knows if I start going on ayahuasca retreats and, you know, doing camps in Nicaragua or whatever. I don't know where it was going, but it felt like it was happening really fast. And it was a serious comment I said to her. I was like, do you feel like I'm changing too quick or something? But as you brought up earlier before, you know, if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. And I think that we do want the best for each other, and as long as we're both fulfilling our own needs and desires and we're communicating, then we do grow well together. But the whole point of that was going back to the idea of living vulnerably from your heart. It's like, even with my wife, I was like, fuck me, is she coming with me?
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not making that up.
No, I know.
Fuck.
I was in a 10-year relationship, and when I started changing, I am not the man my previous partner met. You know, I changed, and we had a lot of hard conversations because it was just different. And it was challenging for her to wrap her head around it. Relationships are tough, but they reveal so much if you can do it respectfully, and the accountability required. That's probably the biggest thing I've learned, if we're forking and segueing from this conversation, is just the personal accountability. And maybe it all ties together, but I apologize so much in my house. I've gotten better at it because I've gotten better at managing my expectations or managing whatever, which, you know, why am I apologizing? Potentially yelling at one of our daughters, or, you know, speaking out of turn, or whatever it might be, right? Or not having a handle on the situation, whatever the example might be. But I've spent a lot of time apologizing to my daughters for
not being a good, I mean, I'm again being pretty critical of myself, but I think that radical accountability, for sure, it's going to instill in them hopefully what they should look for in a man, someone who's willing to apologize, admit they were wrong, share why, etc. But it's tough too. Like, it's not fun crying in front of your daughter because you fucked up. Yeah, you could ask them. They'll. I don't want that to be a memory of them or of me when we all get old. But at the same time, I just hope it sits in the back of their heart somewhere, going, my dad was a good person, and he
loved you.
admitted when he screwed up, right? And
yeah,
it's
because of your love for them.
Yeah,
and your relationship is. Everybody's doing the best that they know how, and we all got pre-programmed actions and communication skills from parents and society, so it's super tough to navigate, but the more you learn, the more you can ask for forgiveness and just grace. It's like, hey, I know I showed up this way, and that's not who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And I can see that now. And it's so funny because you think you're pretty close to getting it all, and then you're like, oh, but relationship's the perfect mirror for that. I'm so lucky to have Ariana and Dan, honestly, because I've been out of a relationship for a year now, and I always did really well in relationship because it was the perfect mirror. No one sees your shit more than your partner. And if you have a partner that's willing to be like, hey, do you notice all these things? Your ability to take it in and grow is paramount. And fuck, I wouldn't be the man I am today. So there's always more to work on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning right now.
But it takes the capability of wanting to listen.
Yeah.
Or willingness to listen. Because she just could have come off as a nagger, or my wife could come off as someone who just nags at me or something, as opposed to going, oh, well, she is an intelligent person. What is she trying to share with me here, right? So thankfully, and I'm sure like you, it's a willingness to want to grow and improve that allows us to listen with open ears and go, okay, and have that reflection of going, oh, maybe I did screw up here. Maybe I could improve there, right?
Because it's actually so funny. This is the perfect conversation for what's actually going on in my life lately. But I'm gonna share a story because it resonates with me. But I'm just gonna share a story of a friend that I was just talking with, and he came to me and was like, "Hey, dude, I'm dropping the ball." And it's been a common complaint in his relationship with his partner, and it's about cooking. So he was like, I feel like he's put in a little bit more effort, but it's still not the effort that's desired by his partner. And so she just reflected back to him it feels like you're not fully in it, the way I need you to be for me to feel safe in the relationship. And he was like, okay, so what that really looks like is me taking a cooking class or being taught how to cook. And what I said, it's a perspective shift for you, because you naturally don't value it the way that she values it, but to be in relationship with her and for her to feel safe, you need to learn to value it. So if you love her enough, you'll change, and you'll be in more love from changing. And you actually might find a part of yourself through this journey. If you're truly committed to being in a relationship with somebody, it's beautiful to change. And so, and my perspective shift to him was, you have to think of it as you have to fall in love with it. And you have to think about it as gifting her a present, because you're presenting her with nourishment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can start falling in love with the process, think of it as an art, and that you're curating this like amazing thing to give your partner a present that you worked really hard to, took time to make. I think it's gonna shift everything. But if you don't see it how she sees it, then it's never gonna work.
It's amazing the topic of cooking. I know in the men's circle there's another gentleman who shares some stuff, apprehension around cooking and judgment stuff, and then there's this story, and it's so funny. There's a lot around that topic for some reason. Maybe it's just because it's come up in a couple spaces, but I know for me personally, I try and use cooking to ground myself and just be present. If you're just there, just peel the carrot. Just be as present as possible and be grateful and find gratitude and appreciation for whatever this thing is that grew. I didn't do anything for it. I went to the grocery store. Thankfully, there's some farmer who's farming carrots, and there's some trucker who distributes the carrots, and there's Loblaws that has the carrot, and just go in and make the exchange and take them home, right? And so I didn't mean to get off topic that too much with cooking, but it's just if I was to share any advice with this person as well, that's what I would share. Is it's a gift. Yeah, being able to cook and assemble food. It's I think you articulate that perfectly. It's just a way of getting present and giving a present.
Giving a present.
Yeah.
And knowing that carrot is becoming you.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you honoring?
Are you mad when you're fucking making it? And,
yeah.
Or are you blissful?
How are you going to take it in?
Yeah.
How are you going to honor that? Because obviously it can be hard to convince people that everything's energy, but it is. Like, you don't eat a carrot and then if you're hungry, you eat a carrot. Are you still hungry? Like, there's energy and information within all food that you're taking in, and it's going to become part of your body.
Mm-hmm.
So really respect it and honor it with grace, and especially with meat, because that's also a living organism with a soul.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We're all over the place
all
here.
Over the place. It's fun though.
It is fun. It's the way she goes.
Yeah.
I know personally, like I have, if we're going there, I have some guilt around, like not harvesting my own food, if you will, like, trying to understand where it comes from. But if the transportation system went down tomorrow, if shit hit the fan, like, I really don't know how to gut a fish. I don't know how to gut a deer or a moose or whatever, or a cow. Mm-hmm. So it's like, thank God there's people that is their light, that's their passion, that is their gift to humanity, is wanting to farm livestock, if you will, hopefully in a natural, beautiful way, not in a mass production way, I suppose. But those people are stewards of the earth, and thank God for them. Mm-hmm. And so I try not to put too much pressure on myself that I'm not raising my own cattle, if you will, or chickens.
Yeah, you're busy.
I'm busy, but maybe one day,
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of pressure I put on myself. It's like, if I'm going to be the masculine and take care of my family and stuff, it's like, what happens if shit hit the fan? I wouldn't be able to, find that provision and stuff. And anyway, so I don't know about you or not, but like I wish my dad would have probably just grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and said, grab this knife and gut this fish, as opposed to, because he was an angler and fished quite a bit, and we did fish quite a bit, but whether I was too soft and didn't want to touch and see the guts and everything, but I kind of wish he would have put the pressure on me, because it's a skill set I wish, and I mean I can still pick it up and it can come, but at a younger age I think it would have been something that was beneficial.
And normalize the process of death, I think, and honoring death.
Yeah.
That's I was actually talking with my friend today about it. Death is a very interesting one, and how we honor, creating that, because I eventually want to get into hunting, but I'm so emotional, I feel like I just start bawling, But I want it to be a spiritual practice, and I think it's important, if you're going to eat meat, to understand the process.
Yeah.
I know we got sidetracked, but we were talking about like relationships, and And just how, you know, if you really want to be in participation with a relationship, there's points of growth. And if you don't actually like show up, of course it's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in reflection of, because, you know, there's always, you can point a finger, but there's three pointing back at you, right?
Love that,
So
yeah.
I was looking back at like my relationship of 10 years and I was like, wow, how didn't I show up? And it was presented to me like one of the ways I didn't show up. And I was like, wow, this is a blind spot.
That was your self-discovery, or that was reflected to you?
It was reflected to me through conversation with my friend Ariana. And she was like, this is a blind spot. And I was resistant.
Wow.
And I was like, but resistant for a moment where I was like, you're right. Like, you're totally right. And just due to my life, like being forced into like weird therapy stuff when I was a kid because of my dad, I was always like resistant to, well, it's to therapy. And yeah, so there was parts of me that were like, you know, saying like, I've done, you know, I have conscious conversations all the time. Like, I've done a lot of work. I feel like I'm, you know, grounded in with who I am. And she's like, I think there's a lot there for you to grow. And so, yeah, friggin' booked a therapist. Well, I'm waiting to hear back from a therapist I really hope to work with. It was very somatic based, so very feeling in the body. Because yeah, through the conversation there was like, it opened up a lot and I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
And I really want to be, you know, I want to be in a relationship again. And I think for me to be ready to be in a relationship and show up like truly and be the man that I want to be in this life, all those things that I resisted, I have to go in, because what you resist persists. And even if I feel like I'm very in a grounded place, that there is, you know, your whole life is like held in your body somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can unwind that and maybe release some deeper tension from my childhood and all those forgotten places, you know. So it kind of makes me uncomfortable, but
interesting.
That's something I'm actively going into.
Good for you.
It was a little vulnerable to share it on the camera, but I did it.
You never cease to amaze me, yeah. Wow.
There's always, and it just goes back to the relationship of like, if you resist, you know, the change or aren't open to it, the relationship's going to end.
Mm-hmm. You're making me question myself. I mean, yeah, our marriage is healthy and everything, but you wonder if there's blind spots anywhere, or I'm wondering. If not, I'm sure they'd be reflected back to me.
She'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thankfully things are pretty good, I think so. I mean, it was just our 15th wedding anniversary, been together for 20, so
that's awesome,
yeah,
dude.
We're pretty good at feeling each other. Like if she walks in the room and she's off, it doesn't take long to go, hey, do you need something, or are you okay? And it's like, do you need space, or do you need to chat, or whatever, and vice versa, right? So that's always good to have, that support. The challenge is you can't get away with any secrets.
No.
Not that I'm trying to, or she is, but like your cards are fully displayed. Like you're just an open book.
And how fucking beautiful is that?
Yeah.
How nice is it that someone knows you so well and is there to support you and loves you? It's like, that's the most beautiful thing ever. It's something really, you know, there's a lot of excitement I have over being in a relationship, having a family, all that kind of stuff, but the one beautiful thing I've learned over the past year is like, it doesn't also have to just be that significant other.
No.
And if you can have friends and a depth of relationship with friends that, you know, they can reflect things back to you and you can reflect things back to them, and you can learn and grow together. And the bond that's formed is insane. And it's just vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, man.
Can we check this camera?
Yeah, we can check
I
it.
just don't
Good for
trust.
you to bring that around, because we were talking about relationship and then
Talked about farming for
talking
for a
about
short
farming and,
stint.
and butchering cows.
What are we at? How many minutes?
We're 50 minutes in, and there's probably a handful of card left. What's the memory look like? Oh, 15 minutes of memory. Countdown's on. Oh, beautiful. Just comfortable couch, eh?
It is nice, actually.
Yeah.
I quite like it. Honestly, we can end there. It's a great conversation about. We took it in many ways, but to end it on the relationship piece is. It's good.
Yeah, I'm excited and happy for you too. I've seen you obviously through some tough times, and you know, I've given you credit too, where you show up in a class and give your full attention and your full adjusted, but in the background you've been going through a lot, right? And so
Heaviest year of my life.
yeah,
It feels like.
So in a short period of time, I've seen you grow quite a bit, and yeah, I'm excited for what's next for you when it comes to relationship and all that sort of stuff. So good on you to continue to improve and not just think, you know, put yourself on a pedestal and whatever else that you've got it all figured out. You're like, no, I got some shit I gotta work on.
So funny too. Like instant resistance. But I've been resisting it my whole life. It was a muscle that I, you know, my response was inherently just like no. So if it's inherently no,
Yeah.
thank God I had Ariana's a beautiful, strong woman.
Was there? What did she have to
was
poke and
like-
prod a lot?
No. No. She just like, that's a blind spot.
She is pretty intelligent.
She calls it as she sees it. And a wise man knows to listen to a strong, powerful woman, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll wrap it up, but just add on to that too. That's what I have learned from Terry as well, is my paternal instincts, if you will, are not as sharp and as smart as a mother's instincts. And so if I want to handle a situation a certain way with the girls or something, I've learned to just default. And I've literally just said to her, they came out of you, you get to do what you want. I'm here to support and whatever else. There's once in a while where I can clap back and go, I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. But rarely that happens.
Rarely.
So to your point, yeah, especially when an intelligent, grounded, thoughtful woman shares something, I think we need to pay attention.
I grew up with a single mom, and my admiration for women is massive. But I really truly believe if we want the world to heal, we need a strong, connected woman. You know, we need women to ground this over masculine system.
Yeah. It's coming. I think the pendulum's just not swinging back as fast as we want, but it's coming. And it also starts with the men tapping into their femininity, right? That's also a big component of it. So, geez, that's like discussion all on its own.
That's maybe the next podcast.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting one, you know? I found tapping into my feminine very healing.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
'Cause you can't relax without it.
No, I wouldn't be here without it all. I don't use the word as much as many others do, but I do possess a lot of feminine energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little dainty.
Yeah, that's okay. Me too.
Makes me who I am.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, brother.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you for being with us. We love recording these podcasts. If you know anyone who would resonate with today's episode, we would be grateful if you would share it with them. If you have any questions or comments, do not be shy and reach out. We would love to connect with you. Until next time, be well, love yourself, and live consciously.